What a treat to have you here.
My pleasure.
The new CD is called Linda Ronstadt, Hummin' to Myself. It's from the Great American Songbook, songs by Cole Porter, Frank Lesser, Duke Ellington.
Right. Actually, Billy Strayhorn wrote that song. I think he wrote it all by himself, the song with Duke Ellington. He has a long history with Duke Ellington.
They wrote it together?
They often shared credits, but generally, and even in the shared credits, it was Billy Strayhorn.
Oh, really? It was all him?
Including Take the A Train. Yeah, he wrote that. Yeah, all by himself.
Lest anyone think that you are following in some of the other rock stars that have been doing the Great American Songbook, Rod Stewart particularly, you have been leading. You did the Nelson Riddle recordings of some of the Great American Songbook songs more than 20 years ago, I
Yes,
think.
Nelson and I made 3 albums together. That was really one of the musical high points of my life, I have to say.
What's the big difference between those recordings that I think people remember and the new CD?
Well, the orchestra. Nelson was, one of the great orchestrators of American standards. And married jazz with the orchestra in a way that didn't compromise either the orchestra or the groove. And of course, he has a long history of orchestrating for pop singers, singing songs that are from the jazz age. Like Frank Sinatra. Sinatra wasn't a jazz singer; he was a pop singer, but all those songs came out of the jazz age, and they have a different rhythmic structure from rock and roll songs. Rock and roll is all about the backbeat, and jazz is the 5-beat, or the cinquillo, the clave that they call down in Latin America. It's from West Africa.
Well, what draws you to these songs, these old songs to us?
They tell my story, and I hope they tell your story, because when you hear me singing, I don't want you to be thinking about my story. It should really... I think the success of a good song and of good performances of it is when you hear a song that maybe you've heard a million times before, and it tugs at your sleeve and it brings up an emotion that you had forgotten about, or that you didn't really realize was still hanging onto your sleeve in such a way. It's a kind of a shock of recognition of an emotion. And when music is there to help us identify our feelings, and when that happens, it's successful, I think.
There are, 11 tracks on this CD. I'm only assuming you probably had a lot of songs you wished you could have put on here.
Well, no, we were squeezing the bottom of the barrel. It's always hard to find enough songs for a record.
Really?
It's just always hard. And then once you start recording them, it's, you just sort of go, why did I ever think I could sing this? What is this total arrogance,
Did you know all of them, or did you research and find some of them?
I knew them all, and a lot of them were songs that I learned as a small child from Peggy Lee, or from Julie London, or from Ella Fitzgerald. I never tried to sing anything that wasn't in the living room of my childhood home by the time I was 10. If it wasn't there by the time I was 10, I don't try, because I can't do it authentically. I just don't know what I'm doing.
You do Miss Otis Regrets. I remember hearing Ella Fitzgerald. I think I had that CD and played it a million times. Tell me about that song and why you decided to put it on the CD. It's
an interesting song. I think people tend to think of it as sort of a society piece, da 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 da, and when I loved the melody. I was intrigued with the melody. When I listened to the lyrics, I was very surprised to find out that it's about someone murdering her lover and then being lynched, by an angry lynch mob. They drag her out of jail and they hang her from a tree. And it's all told in the voice of the lady's maid, of her maid. Alan Broadbent did my arrangements for me, and we got together and cooked this up. I wanted him to set it like a chamber music piece. And so I have, the cello coming in, and the double bass comes in at a time when she pulls her gun. There's this kind of feeling of menace. And then the violin comes in. It's just very dreamy and kind of surreal at the time where they're kind of dragging her out of jail. Because if you're getting dragged out of jail by a lynch mob, I think everything would go in slow motion. You would feel like you were in a horrible dream and wish you could wake up.